That's the first thing. And then it's, do you have the books? Have you done it before? Then you go through all those. But most people, when they're selling their business or going to ask for money, don't have adequate knowledge or experience to do it. So I've gone through and figured out a way to make it so we can keep it very simple about what people are looking for when you're trying to borrow money. And I call it enterprise value. So it's a technical term. Big technical term means, what can I sell my business for today, or what paychecks can it give me over the next X number of years, months, whatever it is. So enterprise value is, if I stopped working today, what would this business generate for me? So can everybody in here write down last year's profits from your business? So write it down. Everybody in your business, if you're an employee, what you turned over, or what you did in your business. So write down the number of your profit from your business. Not too many people are writing. If you don't know this number, Adge is going to be very upset when you come to him and ask him for money. Because he needs to know that to go back to the lenders to say, hey, guess what? Rachel's really good at her job, and she says that she made a $5 last week, and then she made 10,000 pounds the next week, and then Ruth came back and said that she's made 100,000 pounds last month. Was that profit or was that turnover? So when it comes back to EV, what I want you to start thinking about is the very first thing. When somebody starts to look at what your business is worth, you've got 6 levers that control your business. Very first one is systems. If a monkey or goldfish can run your business, it is worth a huge amount of money. If you have to be in the business every day, your business is worth a little bit of money. So you need to have the systems in place to make it so that you don't have to be in your business. And the more that you can prove that, and I have 3 levels of proving that. The first one is reactive. Reactive systems are, if something breaks, we're going to fix it. Does anybody have a business like that where their phones are on right now, and I heard 3 people receiving messages while the last 2 presenters were up here. So I know that some people have a very reactive business. Oh my gosh, my phone just buzzed. The whole business could be breaking down right now. That has very little value. The second thing is proactive. Proactive is, you've actually gone out and made it so that there are some businesses or there's some systems in your business where, you know what, you don't have to be there every day of the week. How many people in here run their own business or run their own departments? When you go on holiday, how many people are scared that if something happens, you're going to be the only one that can save or solve that problem? Raise your hand again. How many people are lying and didn't raise their hand? Because everybody's got an amazing business that they know their team can take it all on, but they're usually the ones that have to sign off everything and do that. So the last one is intentional. That's with an I, intentional. Intentional means that everything happens for a reason. That reason is taking care of the client because the client pays us money. So we move from reactive, whatever happens, breaks, fix it. Proactive, well, we have some plans in place to fix it. Disaster recovery plan or pre-disaster recovery plan. The last one is intentional. Intentional is, we know it's broken, so Richard's designed a laser that the wings already, we know it's going to break in a couple minutes, so you better land that plane in a second. So if your business is intentional in its systems, it becomes more valuable. The next thing is, it's the thing. People call it USP. People call it IP. People call it whatever it is. When we're talking about the tech heads in the room, it's your IP. This is your thing that makes you different than everybody else. So can you get from reactive, which is we're making some stuff that people are asking us for. So when you go to the Big Data Corridor, you're going to ask them, and they're going to say, well, that's good, so we're going to fill this in and find all the restaurants on the bike paths that serve people with dogs, and you can get all the demographics around that, which is fabulous. But then guess what? We're going to design our business to say and create a market on those paths because we know this many people walk dogs, this many people do this, and they want a latte with their dog in the restaurant, whatever it is. The last thing is, you know what? We're actually going to be intentional and we're going to create a market. Who here has an iPhone or an iPad? Apple owns us. We buy their music. We buy their television. We can only download this. When they change the power plugs on our phones, they own us. Oh, all these chargers I had in my car, I just have to throw them away just like the old pound coins. They're all dead, so every time Stephen Jobs rolls over in his grave, we have to pay another £1 million to Apple. That's because they've created an intentional thing. The next one, there's a lot of people in the room that are good at this. This is brand. Brand is, and we're going to talk about this at the end, hopefully I'm not going to steal any thunder here because I'm not as smart as you, definitely. So we have brand. Brand is, if you think of a reliable car, if you think of things that, and I said this earlier in one of the meetings I was in, I said, I went to Madrid, I went to Naples, I went to Rome, I went to Lisbon, France, or Paris in the last 6 months. And the longest line out of any restaurant in the entire place was what? Where was the restaurant with the longest line?
Hard Rock Cafe.
McDonald's. And why is that? Because you know what you get when you walk in the door. The Golden Arches mean I don't have to think. I know exactly what this is going to be. It might be crap. I don't know if that meat's actually meat. I don't know if you've ever left a milkshake set for more than 60 seconds, it turns into water and sludge. It's horrible, but you know what you're going to get. You know that you know exactly what you're going to get. And that's what people need to know about your brand. They need to know what they're going to get, whether they like it or don't like it. And we call Richard Marmite because you can hear him laughing from 7 miles away. And so you either love Richard because you're going to be in the room with him, or you're going to hate Richard because, God, he makes me deaf. So it's those two things that come in there, and you need to be that brand. You need to be the brand that people recognize, because you've gone from reactive to whatever anybody will buy. And, you know, I can't really handle it, so if you want to come by for me, Craig, that's great, but who cares? Proactive to, hey Greg, come on in and see this, to you coming to me and saying, Bart, I love the brand, gotta come talk to you. Okay, then guess what? This is the hardest part. This is where Ruth will be able to tell you. Finding your team and building your team to be intentional. So that when people, and I've worked for huge companies, one of the worst companies in the whole world everybody hates, Walmart. But I tell you what, when you work at Walmart, we call it drinking the Kool-Aid. You know exactly what type of employee you're going to get. You know what your treatment's going to be like. You know what your career trajectory is. You know what? When we're talking about big data here. In 1995, I was selling in a region, Alaska, Washington, Oregon, Montana, Idaho. That was my region, basically Russia. You know, that the map is big enough. But I can tell you how many tubes of toothpaste of Crest and Colgate White that we were going to sell opening a store in Billings, Montana a year before we opened the store. We could stock it and tell the people, we could tell Procter & Gamble what we wanted to have in the store before we got there. Because we understood as a team that that's the type of stuff we wanted to do. So we get to the systems, the thing, the brand, the team has to understand it's Marmite. So if you work for Richard, it's best if you're deaf, because if you have to listen to it half the time, you're going to be by the end of it. So he needs to build his team around that. So it needs to be an intentional team. Sorry, Richard, I didn't mean to pick on you. He loves it. Yeah, he's a very nice guy, everybody. Really. Now, guess what? This is where the Marmite comes in. Niche. You need to find your niche. If you're trying to sell to everybody in the entire room, think of your marketing budget. Think of your PR budget. Think of all the stuff you have to spend. If you're trying to market to every Tom, Dick, and Harry and trying to get every share of wallet, because everybody says, what do they say typically when you come out with a brand new technology? What do you usually say when you're talking to an entrepreneur? They say, it's like nothing else. It's better. You just don't understand. We don't have any competitors. Well, you might not have any competitors in your exact space, but you're still competing for what I've made that month and how I'm going to spend it. The things that drive me nuts are when you see a restaurant, an Indian restaurant, a Chinese restaurant, whatever it is, open up, close down, and then another Chinese restaurant opens up in the exact same spot, and then another one in the exact same spot. It's like, you know, there's these things, location, location, location. There's, how do you think that your mom's recipes were actually so much better than their mom's recipes? How do you not know how to find that niche client? The person that will come to you and say, you know what, I want a marketing person that laughs so loud that I just want to leave the room, so he's really quick with the meetings, tells me what I need to do. You know what? You're going to go to Richard. So if you want computer systems that do this, this, and this, and you want somebody that doesn't talk BS, then you go to Jude. You know, so you go through all these different things, and it really comes down to finding that person that knows that you are Marmite. You find them, and you find those three. So mine is typically tech, manufacturing, and healthcare. I can do other things, but those are my three things that I can help people do this with, because that's what I know, and that's my network, and that's how I can leverage it. I can help other people, but I'm not as good at it. The very last thing, and this is the thing that Aj is going to ask you about in a big style. Growth. Growth, if you are reactionary or reactive, then you are just saying, we're going to grow kind of at this. We're going to do a little bit of this. We're going to try to grow next year by 10%. We're going to try to do this. If you're proactive, you're saying, like the old Russian 5-year plans, the NEAT plans, we have a 5-year plan. We know what this is going to happen. Part of this is going to be organic. We're going to get some of our clients to refer, and then guess what? Then we're going to go out and we're going to buy another company, and then we're going to do this. And so we've got our 5-year plan or our 10-year plan. That starts to be good. And the next one is, and this is where money comes into it, is when you're intentional, you're looking at a specific goal. If you're having investment, then your investors, especially if they're venture capital or private equity, they have a time to get out. They want to be out. It's an investment for them in a certain amount of time. So when you're looking for raising capital, you're looking at your enterprise value. Somebody wants to know, anybody here ever used Airbnb? Airbnb, anybody? No? Okay. Anybody ever actually had their house and rented Airbnb? Okay, let me tell you this. Pretend like you have somebody that you rent Airbnb, you want to try it out once. They come into your house, they turn on your lights, they go through your refrigerator, they do all these different things. They're going to go through and treat your house like it's theirs. Sometimes you can hive it off, you can use a nanny flat, whatever you want to have. But when you get investment from VC and private equity, so when you go out and start building with the bank, and then you build in some extra investors, you are letting people into your house. You're letting people in to stare at your books, talk to your team, review your brand. So you really need to make sure that your work is in order and your business is in order, because you're going to be letting people in to your private sanctum. And if you've been the person with the big name over the desk and the lights in the background and your name's over the door in your car park spot, you might have to answer questions now, because those guys are going to want some return on their 20% investment. But when you have this, and this is where the magic starts to happen. I've seen this. If you're looking at sales values, it depends on what numbers you're using. See, there's somebody that has, look at that. They're reactive business. Tell you what. Thanks for doing that, I'll pay you later. So, if you sell your business, normally people can get about 3 times EBITDA, three times their profits, if you want to call it that. But guess what? You start to get out to here, businesses then start to take it to about 7. Magic numbers, and this is it never happens in the big circle here, but you can cover this much surface area, you're starting to look at double digits. It takes a long time. If any of you are looking for that magic bullet and you want to get investment to ramp all that stuff up, this is the stuff you need to work on now. Anything above this line, growth, systems, and your thing, are high return on investment. So if you're going to sell your business in a year, good luck, sell more crap. That's all. So if you've only got 1 year left, ramp up the books. That's it. If you have 3 years to 5 years, you need to go for your growth trajectory, your systems that you put in your business, and ramping up that thing, making sure that's secured legally, making sure you have people bought into contracts. If you have 10 years or 5 or more, then you can start working on this, because it takes a long time, as I'm sure we'll figure out in a little while, to get a brand actually recognized to the level you want it to do. So Richard's going to start laughing here in a second, because he's told me I have to sit down now. So if you want to talk more about that, and you know, if you can have access to finance, I have all sorts of people that I talk to and can do that. But I wanted you to know what you have to do before they come in ask you for money, and what you're going to have to tell them and what they're going to be looking for is this. It's taken me, that client messing up for not listening to their advisor, for one to turn into 1.2 million. And that was tragic, because as a financial advisor, that's 12,000 pounds a year that I missed out on. It was tragic for me, and I want you all to feel bad about that. No, but I don't want this to happen to you. So thank you very much for listening to me. I'll be here in a little while. If you want to get my details from Richard, that's great. So I know I was the 5th runner-up, because when Richard called me, he said, "Hello, I need you to speak tonight, Mr. Branson." I said, "No, this is Beatty." And he's like, "Okay, whatever, just come on down." Pretty much the invite. So then I'm not in high court today, but I was the 4th runner-up. So thank you very much for listening to me today.